It was past 2 in the morning. The alleys in southern Shiraz, under the dim light of street lamps, were peacefully and silently asleep. In a small, old house, a middle-aged woman suddenly woke up. She had a strange feeling, as if someone was breathing in the room. She reached for the bedside lamp, but before she could press the switch, a soft and silent shadow passed by the bed. The air filled with a strong, unfamiliar smell, like industrial oil. The woman screamed, but the shadow, moving smoothly and incessantly, slid towards the window, and in the blink of an eye went up through it. The locks were intact, the window was unbroken, and no footprints were visible on the ground. Welcome to my channel. I am the narrator of this case, and if you're interested in criminal cases, stay with me until the end of this video. Shiraz is a big city in southwest Iran and the center of Fars province. Around Shiraz there are mountain ranges and a very mild climate for living. Many people travel to this city in the spring, mostly for its historical sites like Hafizia, Saadia, Aram Garden, and so on. But in August 2014, horrifying reports reached Shiraz police and terrified the people. The night when it all began, it was past 2 in the morning. The alleys in southern Shiraz, under the dim light of the street lamps, were peacefully and silently asleep. The sound of a dog could be heard in the distance, and the smell of damp earth spread through the air. In a small, old house, a middle-aged woman suddenly woke up. She had a strange feeling, as if someone was breathing in the room. She reached for the bedside lamp, but before she could press the switch, a soft, silent shadow slipped past the bed. A strong, strange odor, similar to industrial oil, filled the air. The woman screamed, but the shadow, with a slippery and uninterrupted movement, headed toward the window and in the blink of an eye climbed out. The locks remained intact, the window was unbroken, and no footprints were seen on the floor. In the morning, shivering and scared, the woman told the neighbors, "I swear it looked like a ghost. Its skin was shiny, as if it was wet." A few days later, a similar incident occurred in another alley. A young girl who had stayed home alone was awakened at midnight by a quiet sound. When she opened her eyes, she saw a creature peering over the edge of her bed. She screamed, and her father, who was sleeping in the next room, hurried over. The man lunged at the intruder, but his hand slipped over its body as if its entire skin was covered in oil. The intruder, with unnatural speed, climbed up the window and disappeared into the darkness. At first, these incidents were just scattered rumors whispered among the neighborhood women and behind half-open doors of the houses. Some said it was the work of a jinn. Others swore that a strange and terrifying thief was wandering the neighborhood. But as time passed, the number of these stories increased and their details became more similar. Everyone said midnight, silence, a strong smell of oil, and an escape that no one could stop. Initially, the police did not take these reports seriously, but when more than 10 similar complaints were registered in less than 2 weeks, the story took on a new form. Officers visited the houses, checked the windows and the locks, but found no signs of break-in or damage. The only clues that remained were the smell of oil and the description of the intruder's slippery, slick body. In the neighborhood, nighttime tranquility had lost its meaning. Families stayed awake until morning, relocking doors, and some men even stood guard on rooftops at night. Yet it seemed the intruder could be everywhere. One night in the east of the neighborhood, the next in the west. He came and went silently, without leaving any trace. That night became the beginning of a legend that would echo for months through the alleyways of Shiraz. Elderly women would sit by the old ponds and whisper, "An oily ghost comes, silent, passing through walls." The younger ones spread the rumor with even more excitement. "It's a restless spirit wandering through the houses." Amid all these stories, hardly anyone believed that a human was involved. But rather than fading, the incidents became more pronounced each day. Every time, from midnight until dawn, an unknown shadow would enter homes. Locks weren't broken and no footprints remained on the ground. Sometimes, a victim's clothes would be torn without a sound. Other times, only small things, like a watch or wallet, would disappear. Strangest of all, everyone who had seen the intruder mentioned the same strong, pungent scent of oil, a smell that lingered like a signature at every scene. These failures even caused doubt among the officers themselves. Others, deep down, believed they were dealing with something supernatural. The media gradually fanned these flames. Local newspapers headlined, "The Slippery Shadow in Shiraz Alleys, the Mystery of Silent Entry into Homes." But none of these titles were as terrifying and enduring as the nickname that spread through the markets and streets by word of mouth. They called him the Jelly Man. They used to say he would cover his body with a special oil so that anyone trying to catch him would have him slip away like a bar of soap. This nickname on the surface was just a rumor, but in reality it became the key to a mystery the police still couldn't quite grasp. One night in late summer, the day's heat had given way to a heavy, humid breeze. After weeks of failure, the police devised a new plan. An old house in one of the narrow alleys, near which several witnesses had seen the Jelly Man pass by many times, was turned into a silent trap. The lights were off, a window was half open, and in the room, 2 officers were breathing motionlessly. It was past 2 o'clock when a silent shadow pulled itself up through the window. As always, he entered without a sound or warning. The intruder walked cautiously. The strong scent of oil filled the room, and right at the moment he reached for the edge of the bed, the order to attack was given. A short shout echoed in the room. The shadow dashed toward the rooftop like lightning. The officer closest to him grabbed his arm from behind, but the intruder's body, slippery as a fish, slipped through his fingers. All that was left behind was a pair of black pants that lay on the dark roof. The attacker silently and tracelessly vanished into the night. The next morning, when the pants were examined at the police station, officers found a small label on the inside of the waistband. Written in simple, small handwriting was the name Amin. This was the first tangible clue after months. The search for the label led the officers to a small dry cleaner's nearby. After a bit of thought, the middle-aged shop owner said, "Yes, he brought in these pants last week. He was a young man, about 20 years old. His hair was short, his gaze strange, and he kept looking around restlessly." 20,000 people in Shiraz were named Amin, and any one of them could have been a suspect. This was the starting point, an entangled beginning that required sifting through thousands of individuals. Investigations began. By filtering age, region, and past records, the police team managed to identify someone with a suspicious background. In 2013, a young woman with a distressed face went to the Shiraz police and claimed that she had been raped at midnight and that her mobile phone had been stolen. Since the girl had seen the assailant's face, finding the thief was not difficult. When the police arrested the suspect, whose name was Amin Dagani, the girl returned to the police station and withdrew her complaint. The reason for her action was never revealed. Perhaps fear of disgrace caused her to withdraw, but Amin Dagani, for the proven crime of mobile theft, was sentenced to 1 month in prison. The rape case was closed, and the accused was released after a month. However, elsewhere, after being released, the young Amin turned into a man whose point of entry no one ever knew. In the following years, he became the darkest nightmare of midnight sleep. The Jelly Man, now with a name, a record, an age, and an exact method of committing the crime, the officers could devise a targeted plan to catch him. He was finally arrested, and the dark legend of Shiraz neared its end. During interrogations, Amin Dagani was neither nervous nor remorseful. Sitting on the metal chair of the interrogation room, he calmly, almost as if recounting a personal memory, stated that over 2 years he had targeted more than 100 houses, but only in a portion of them was he able to fully execute his plan. His method of entry was strangely simple. He would climb cement walls and connected rooftops, sometimes unlocking locks with small, silent tools, and sometimes entering houses through doors left half open. The main secret behind his escapes was exactly what people said in rumors. Before entering the houses, he would cover his body with a thick mixture of oil and Vaseline. This coating not only caused a faint shine to appear on his skin in the dark, but also, whenever he got caught, any hand that grabbed him would involuntarily let go. His motives were a combination of excitement, theft, and a sick pleasure in frightening and tormenting his victims. No sign of remorse could be seen in his eyes. Even when the investigator read the details of his actions to him, a slight smile appeared on his lips, as if thinking of an old game. The trial was held in the winter of the same year. The court hall was filled with reporters, victims' families, and curious people who had been following this story for months. The description of the crimes amazed even experienced officers. Tales of women who woke up at midnight to the breathing of a strange man, a child who woke his mother with endless crying, and houses that were completely looted in silence.
آسایش نداشتیم به خاطر ای همه هر ساعت یه چی میگفتن هر شبی تو خونه یکی بود
یه عبرتیه برای تمام کسایی که واقعا بخوان راه خلافی برن و نقطه آخر خلاف هم همین هست دیگه.
ما پارسال تابستون اصلا آسایش نداشتیم از دستی.
کار خیلی خوبی بود، یه دست عبرت باشه برای بقیه. بعد ما نه آسایش داشتیم، شب و روز هیچی نداشتیم. یه حالت تنشی بود تو مردم.
الهی شکر اعدامش کردن. تا یه جور چیه اعدام بکنن.
On the morning of May 16th, 2015, Shiraz's public square was filled with people. The sun had just risen over the rooftops, the shadows had shortened, and a faint breeze swayed the hanging rope. Whispering and murmurs floated through the air. When the sentence was carried out, a brief silence fell over the square, and then a sigh of relief rose from the crowd. Afterwards, people thanked the judiciary for bringing justice, chanting slogans together. The legend of the Jelly Man, which had haunted the houses of people for months like a nightmare, came to an end on that warm morning. But still, on some calm and windless nights, those who witness those days up close sometimes look at their dark windows and say to themselves, maybe someone like him will return from the heart of darkness again.